Hey, deep divers, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe. And leave us a comment, too, because we're diving into some serious deja vu in U.S. politics today. You ready for this?
Always.
All right, so today's deep dive is taking us straight to the heart of the Electoral College. And let's just say, some familiar faces from that 2020 election drama are back.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Right, so we're looking at this article from the Daily Beast. These 2020 fake electors are back and ready to cause more chaos. Count them, 5 Pennsylvania Republicans who were part of that whole alternate elector thing are back as electors for 2024.
Well, that's certainly a headline that grabs your attention.
For sure. Okay, so quick refresher for anyone who needs it. Back in 2020, these 5 electors tried to declare Trump the winner in Pennsylvania, even though Biden won the popular vote.
Right, and they claimed their actions were, dependent on court rulings that would overturn the results.
Rulings that, shocker, never actually happened.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that while Pennsylvania's case was unique in that they framed it as contingent on those legal challenges, other states saw even more aggressive tactics. Some individuals in places like Michigan and Georgia actually faced legal consequences because they submitted totally bogus certificates saying Trump won. It was a whole mess.
Yeah, Pennsylvania definitely played it a bit more cautiously. But here's where things get really interesting. The article quotes one of the returning electors, who also happens to be an RNC member, saying, "I will stand on what I did in 2020. Another returning elector even said she'd sign a similar document challenging the results if Trump contests the election again.
Wow. That's a bold statement. It seems like they're doubling down on their previous stance.
Totally. And get this, it wasn't just the returning electors who made waves. Some of the NW electors for 2024 have hinted that they might be open to challenging the results too, if Trump disputes them.
So the potential for controversy is still very much alive. It seems like the events of 2020 might be casting a long shadow on this upcoming election.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into all of that right after the break. Don't go anywhere.
So we're back, and we're picking up right where we left off with this potential electoral roller coaster. It's not just some theoretical debate about the Electoral College anymore, right?
Exactly. This is about real people. People in positions of power who've already shown that they're willing to maybe bend the rules a little, maybe even break them to get what they want.
That's a crucial point. These aren't just abstract arguments. We're talking about individuals who have already shown they might challenge the core of a free and fair election.
And that brings up the big question. What happens if 2024 is a nail-biter? Like, down to the wire, super close.
A lot of people are worried about that very scenario. If the results are contested and these electors actually do what they've hinted at, we could be looking at a full-blown constitutional crisis. Think about it.
Yeah.
Legal battles in tons of states, protests all over the place, a whole nation on edge, totally divided, and not even sure who's in charge.
It sounds like a movie, but a really stressful one.
And the consequences, those are definitely not entertaining. This isn't just about one election. It's about the whole idea of democracy, the peaceful transfer of power. If people lose faith in the system, it could lead to some really extreme stuff. More polarization, maybe even violence.
Okay, so the stakes are high, really high. But what I don't get is this whole heads I win, tails you lose thing.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying democracy only works when they win.
That's the heart of the problem. One of the most basic ideas of democracy is that you accept the results even when your candidate loses these electors. They seem to be playing by a different set of rules, where their loyalty is to a specific person or party, not to democracy itself.
And that's super dangerous, right? Because it sets up this idea that anyone who's unhappy with the results can just try to overturn them. It's like changing the rules of the game whenever you start losing.
Exactly, and that's a game no democracy can win. It undermines the legitimacy of elections and makes people lose trust in the system. And what's even more worrisome is that this kind of talk isn't limited to a small group. It's being echoed by some politicians and media outlets, making it seem normal, which is scary.
So it's like, we've got this time bomb ticking away. What can we even do about it? Is there any way to protect our elections and stop this from happening again?
There are things we can do, but it's going to take all of us. Lawmakers, regular people, everyone. For starters, we need stronger laws to punish people who try to interfere with elections. In some states, the penalties are way too light. We need to make it clear that this kind of behavior won't be tolerated, really make it hurt.
Hit 'em where it hurts. Got it.
Yeah.
So, tougher penalties. What else?
We also got to close those loopholes that were exploited in 2020. Remember how those fake electors in Pennsylvania said they were just waiting for the courts? We need to rewrite the rules so there's no confusion. Every state needs super clear guidelines on how electors are chosen and what they can and can't do.
No more loopholes, no more gray areas. I like it.
Right, but it goes beyond just laws. We need a culture of respect for democracy, and that starts with education. Teaching people about how democracy works, why it matters, why the Electoral College exists, and why the peaceful transfer of power is so important.
Knowledge is power. If people understand the system, they're less likely to fall for misinformation and more likely to call out the BS.
Exactly. And beyond education, we need to learn how to have civil conversations and be smarter about the media. We should be able to disagree with each other respectfully without attacking each other or spreading lies. We need to think critically about what we read and see online, double check our sources, and be wary of those clickbait headlines and emotionally manipulative stuff.
So it's not just about laws, it's about changing how we think and talk about politics.
Exactly. Protecting democracy is on all of us. It means being committed to truth, fairness, and those basic values that make a free society work. It's realizing that our differences don't have to tear us apart. They can actually make us smarter and help us make better decisions together.
That's deep.
Hmm.
So preventing another 2020 isn't about just changing some rules. It's about changing how we do politics. It's about understanding that democracy is fragile, that we need to protect it, and that sometimes we got to stand up to people, even if they're on our side.
You got it. And that brings us to the most important question. What can we do as individuals? It's easy to feel powerless when faced with these huge problems, but the truth is, we all have a role to play.
So what's the plan? What can we actually do?
First things first, stay informed. Don't just skim the headlines. Dig deeper, look for different points of view, and check everything you see.
Okay, so we're back, and we've covered a lot of ground here, from those returning electors to the whole heads I win, tails you lose thing, to how delicate our democracy really is.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, right? And it shows that being a citizen in a democracy, it's not a passive thing. You got to be involved and stand up for what you believe in.
For sure. So as we wrap this up, what's the main takeaway here? What do we need to remember going into this big election year?
I think the most important thing is that we can't just sit back and watch. We need to stay informed, participate, and make sure our leaders know we're paying attention. What happens to our democracy really depends on us, you know?
Right, no more sitting on the sidelines. So what does that look like? How can we actually make a difference as individuals?
Well, the first thing is to stay informed, like really informed. Go beyond just the headlines, get different perspectives, and fact-check everything. Don't just take things at face value, be a critical thinker.
Okay, so be smart about the information we're taking in. What else?
And try to have real conversations, even with people who see things differently. Listen to them, try to understand where they're coming from, and find some common ground. We can disagree without being jerks about it.
Less yelling, more talking. Got it. Anything else?
You bet. Support those groups that are fighting to protect our democracy and voting rights. You can volunteer, donate, or just spread the word about what they're doing.
Put our money where our mouth is and support the folks on the front lines. Good idea.
And of course, the most important thing, vote. Make your voice heard. Every single vote matters, and it's one of the most powerful tools we have to shape the future of this country.
It's true. Voting is kind of the whole point of a democracy.
Right. So to all you deep divers out there, remember, stay informed, have real conversations, back up the people fighting for democracy, and vote like crazy. Our democracy depends on you.
Absolutely. That's all for today's deep dive into this whole election situation. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deeper. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. We love hearing from you.